Hi, Tony here, and I am not at the Pastry Bakery. We are lucky to be at Sofra Bakery in Cambridge, Massachusetts with the renowned Maura Kilpatrick. Maura's going to show us how she works with One Mighty Mill stone milled flour.
We are going to make a bread that we call Manoushe. It's a Lebanese word, and it's a flatbread. It's normally served with Za'atar on top, and we have been using One Mighty Mill for a few years, right?
Yeah.
5 years?
It feels like
4
that.
years? For a while.
4 years.
Yeah, and ever since we started using this, it's really fun to work with. We have used it in some cookies, and I reach for it whenever, actually. Testing a new focaccia recipe, and it's in there with some rye flour. I think that the taste is so much better. I feel like it's just almost invisible. If you just eat something, you can't taste the wheat. But especially in items like this, it's like 95% of your product. You need to taste it, and it needs to taste good, you know? Sometimes in a cookie or something, it's a little less noticeable. But we put it in our chocolate chunk cookie 100%, and it's really noticeable in that. We have instant yeast, One Mighty Mill bread flour. I have a little bit of rye flour in here also. Olive oil and salt and water and some sugar.
So you're going to start mixing, and what does mix time look like for a bread like this?
It's only about 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
So the water's on the bottom, so I'm going to have to scrape a few times.
So to me, this is really interesting, because I know a lot of home bakers would be stressing out. And at this point, you're just kind of watching to see how the gluten develops. Mm-hmm. Even if it's a little sticky, you're totally relaxed.
Yeah, it's sticky because it requires a lot of resting time. So what we normally do with this is we would make this, put it in an oil tub, rest it overnight, shape it in the morning. Put it on an oil sheet pan. But also you can do it in like 2 hours. You could rest this for a couple of hours and then shape it. But for, ease of production, we just do it overnight. So it is sticky and stretchy like this. I'm not looking for to stretch the gluten, and for it to hold together, but it's sticky like this and it's holding together.
And what's really cool, you can see, it's got this beautiful tan color. It's got the One Mighty Mill stone milled, and you've also got a bit of rye flour. Mm-hmm. You're going to see there's all that nutrition, the bran and germ in there. It's gorgeous.
So here is the rested dough. Isn't that beautiful?
So you've got this rested dough, mm-hmm. And in terms of what structurally happened, how does the dough feel to you that makes it clear that you're now ready to work?
You can stretch this a long way. So you're looking to really stretch your gluten out like that. Isn't that pretty?
So you're almost doing like that window pane method where you can see.
But it's okay if it breaks because it's a pretty sturdy dough. So after we take this dough,
what would be optimum to scale these at?
We scale these every day at about 3 ounces. These are 4 ounces.
A digital home scale would make this a lot easier for folks.
Oh yeah, if you didn't have one, you can just sort of eyeball even pieces. To do that, you would divide it in half, and then divide it in half, and then divide it in half.
Awesome. Explain a little bit about what Sofra's doing that's making a huge difference for the folks in Turkey that are obviously experiencing really hard time.
So we partnered with the Turkish philanthropy funds, and we are asking at the register if you can make a donation when you're cashing out. Also, when you order it online, you can just round up your check. And we've been doing that for maybe a month, since the beginning, since a week after the earthquake hit, we have been doing it. And so far, it's a collaboration between Oleana, Sofra, and Sarma, and we've raised $25,000.
It's so incredible. And so if people want to contribute, I think we'll share some different options, but visiting here at the point of sale, really easy to contribute.
Yeah. But it's called Turkish Philanthropy Funds. Pretty much 100% of the money goes for the people and for directly to their needs.
What happens next?
So we would let this cover it with plastic, let it sit probably another hour and a half.
The big thing, you've covered it with plastic to keep it nice and moist. Any other tricks if somebody's trying to do this dough at home?
I would say that It's kind of what I find about One Mighty Mill and a lot of fresh flours is they're very thirsty. They require more oil. So oil your tray very well and then cover with plastic because you can get a skin on it and that prevents it from proofing.
And how do you know they're ready when you do that press?
So if you hold their indentation, they're done.
And they do.
If it springs back, you want to wait a few more minutes.
Got it.
So what we do with these is like make sure they have a lot of oil. What usually I do is, because the bottom has the oil on it, is I'll flip it over and then you can put the oil on the other part. And another name for this bread in Turkey is finger bread, and it's literally because you're using your finger, you're dimpling the bread. So we'll spread this out. I always try to leave like a border around it because I still want it to be soft and not hard and chewy. And then we have some za'atar. And this is equal parts za'atar and oil.
Olive oil.
Olive oil. Olive oil from Lebanon. So put a little bit down.
And is this your own za'atar blend?
No, we get a really beautiful za'atar. One thing, like you were saying earlier about our spices, and we have friends in Turkey and we have a friend in Lebanon, and the za'atar and the olive oil come from olive harvest, but the za'atar comes from Manoushe, like from the mountains of Lebanon.
So people like go and they try to source lobsters from us in New England. We send those worldwide. You guys go directly to the source to get the most perfect spice blend, and it makes a difference, I assume.
Yeah, it matters, especially with za'atar. You can taste the difference so much, and with olive oil, because we use it on absolutely everything, you can taste the difference.
And in terms of baking, how do you like to bake it? And if somebody were doing this equivalent dough at home, any suggestions?
I think at home, I would definitely do 350, and I always tell people when they're baking something for the first time at home, like bake one. You know, don't bake a full pan because you don't know what your oven is like. I don't know what your oven is like. You know, I can tell you to bake like, 350 for, 13 minutes or 14 minutes, but what if they're not done? So I would say always, always, always do your test bake, especially with cookies, but always do your test bake, and then you'll know. Like if you have to add like, it could take 5 more minutes, but I would, even at home, you might bake these at 400. So this is our One Mighty Mill za'atar bread. So pretty.
So beautiful.
So it absorbed a lot of oil on the bottom, which is great. And you can see that it stayed dimpled from the fingertips, and have a piece.
And how do you like eating those? On their own? Do you like pairing them with anything in particular?
A lot of times we offer these to go with meze, so you can actually use it to, swipe your meze with, or...
So dips, hummus,
Yeah.
baba ganoush, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
You're taking our flour and you're making all this beautiful stuff. So we couldn't be more grateful to see our flour in action.